Alright, this is the lesson and notes on Camcorder Basics. Camcorder Basics is going to teach you obviously the basics of what a camcorder means, different recording media, and you want to make sure that you study obviously the terms and concepts in this presentation so you can be ready for a quiz or test on them, and then later on it'll appear on your final exam. So here we go. Camcorder. A camcorder is from the two words camera and recorder. In the old days we used to have a camera that had to have an external recording device on it. Now of course we have camcorders which do both, and it's also designed to allow the recording and the playback from the same unit, so that's really handy for obviously looking over your footage while you're out in the field shooting. A CCD is known as a charge-coupled device, and that is essentially a computer chip which is made up of hundreds of thousands of sections. You see a little snapshot of a sample CCD here. Really high quality camcorders have 3 CCDs, which are most of them that are made right now. And 3 CCDs, each one senses a different color: red, green, and blue, and obviously those 3 basic colors combined to create all other colors in the spectrum. Alright, the definition of a lens is a curved piece of glass that on a camera that collects light, and there you see a picture of a lens right there. That's what actually sees the light, and of course lets that light and imagery into the camera for the CCD to create the image. Focus. Focus is an adjustment made to what we call the focal length of the lens to create a sharper picture. So the lens actually inside there moves forward and back to either create a sharper or a more distorted picture. And here's 2 examples for you. In focus example would be the one on the top right. We have a bird cage here in the foreground that's in sharp focus, and then an out of focus example. Obviously this is a very blurry scene, looks like a kind of a street scene with street lights at dusk or dawn. So there's a few things that we can mount a camera to. The first one is called a tripod. Tri meaning 3, and that's a 3-legged mounting device for video camera, making it stable. And then you also have an option of a monopod. We have a couple of those in our lab available for use, and that single-legged mounting device is used to steady a camera while shooting. Obviously you can't walk away from it like you can a tripod, but if you're just going out and getting a few quick shots and you want to keep the camera from shaking, a monopod isn't a bad thing to use. So videotape. This is what used to be used as the primary recording media. Videotape is a thin strip of plastic material which contains metal particles that can record and store a magnetic charge. The old media formats were VHS and mini DV. As a matter of fact, in the lab here we still have some use for mini DV. We have some old cameras that we still use, and it's still functional, but that's an older format, and of course VHS is quite a bit on the older side. The new media formats we have, there's 2 types. There's SD cards, which are removable flash memory. It's very, very common. And then we have HDD, which is hard disk drive, which is built into many of the new cameras. Okay, here is a microphone. Almost all camcorders have a built-in microphone. Usually they're mounted to the front of the camera for good sound pickup. But for better sound quality, we always want to use, as a videographer, external microphones. So make sure if you're going to buy a camera, make sure you buy one that actually has a external microphone port. The Viewfinder, we need to be able to see what we are going to film. A smaller eyepiece that allows the user to see what the camera lens sees is called the Viewfinder. It's usually in the back of a smaller camera like this. Or a view screen, which many people find a lot more comfortable to use, is a small monitor that's usually mounted on the side of the camera, which of course allows the user to see what the camera lens sees. Alright, let's talk white balance for a minute. White balance is essentially when we're talking about the camera seeing colors, and the camera lens sees colors differently in different lighting situations. It's something we call color temperature. So what white balance does is it allows the user of the camera to adjust the color response to surrounding light. Most camcorders are set to auto white balance by default, but you of course can set it to manual. And in many cases, doing a manual white balance gives you a better white balance, or better balanced picture and truer colors than an auto white balance. A zoom lens. A zoom lens is one that has a variable focal length, and it's of course very standard on pretty much every camera. On the zoom control, you're going to see the following two functions. You're going to see W and you're going to see T. W stands for wide angle, so you press that when you want to zoom out or open up the field of view, and you press T for telephoto when you want to zoom in or close in the field of view. Here's optical zoom and digital zoom. Optical zoom requires longer lenses for more zooming power. Digital zoom, on the other hand, uses a computer chip inside to zoom in, which takes up less space. However, it's less physical space as far as the actual physical size of the lens itself. But as a rule, optical zoom is going to give you much better quality images than digital zoom. So you want to avoid using digital zoom as much as possible. So there's a few typical camcorder inputs. You'll notice on the back of pretty much any camcorder, or on the side of any camcorder, this particular picture is an older camera that has it on the back. It has an AC, which is of course alternating current adapter port, and that's used when you need to charge the battery or when you're providing AC power when you're not using a battery or you're low on battery. You can actually plug in to a wall for power. Then you have the microphone port, which is used for external microphones, as we talked about in the external, or in the microphone section. A headphone port is typically found for monitoring sound that's being recorded for listening and tape playback. And an AV port is used for sending audio and video signals from the camcorder to another source, like a television, a video switcher, and sometimes this port is used for headphones as well. You also have what's known as a FireWire port. And what the FireWire port is all about is connecting the computer to transfer video and audio. And we have some playback controls here for you. And of course, the term camcorder means camera and recorder, but it also allows you to do playback. So play, pause, fast forward, rewind, and stop are your 5 basic functions for controlling playback of your media. Alright, so hopefully this helps you put together your notes for studying on the quiz, and or studying for the quiz, I should say. And if you have any questions, just see your instructor.